Hi, folks. My name is Girish, the host for Back to Basics, another Back to Basics for another week. Today, we're going to be talking about marathons, we're going to be talking about sales, and we're going to be talking about his book. Now, these two combinations does not go well, does it? But it kind of does for me. This person I spoke with a couple of weeks back, maybe 3 weeks back, I'm not really sure when, but amazing person to talk to, chat with, hang out with, have drinks with, dinner with, whatever. But he's a good person to chat with, for sure. So let's go and talk about sales. Let's talk about his book. And let's talk about his craziness about marathons. So, Vinod, how are you? And thanks for coming to Back to Basics.
I'm fine. Thanks for inviting me here, Girish, and sharing some of my experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you again for being here, Vinod. But before we start all the craziness of the episode for today, what does Back to Basic mean to you?
Well, back to basics for me is going back to simplicity.
Hmm.
And I made this change several years back. And life was getting complicated. Everything was too much. Um, and it looks nice, but it was all tension things. So I asked myself, what is it that I really want? What
Hmm.
do I enjoy?
Hmm.
Am I overdoing things? And one of the first things I did was, have three or four credit cards, and I chopped off all of them except one.
Sure.
And I said, okay, I'll just get one statement. I will worry about one card.
Hmm. Yeah, so no, thank you again for explaining that because it seems like we need to minimize as much of chaos around you, and I think that's what you did, right? You cut off your credit card
Right,
and you said, "Let
right.
me just be the simple way and the basic way." So thank you again for explaining that. So before we get into the book, and I usually talk about the certain topics and then I talk about you, but today I want to do the different way. I want to talk about you first, if that's okay with you. You know,
Sure.
you have been working for so many years. Uh, what are your thoughts as to how we um, used to work before and today? I mean, how has that changed for you from your perspective?
Um, it's changed tremendously
Hmm.
because I think most of my working career, which is about 50 years now,
Hmm.
is work was very structured, both time wise, both in relationship wise,
Hmm.
and even in terms of work content wise. Of
Hmm.
course, it didn't mean that you didn't have challenges, you didn't do things, you enjoyed certainly a lot of it, but it was very structured.
Hmm.
And today there's less structure. You have to do your own thing,
Hmm.
and sometimes it's frightening. At least in the beginning it is, because earlier you knew what to do, but here you suddenly have to start saying, should I do it, should I not, what am I
Hmm.
doing,
Hmm.
uh, and what do you do with your idle time?
Hmm.
In hindsight, I think this is a good change, but it's not good for everyone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, Vinod, I have a question for you, if you don't mind. The question
Sure.
is I was speaking with someone a couple of weeks back,
Uh,
and they actually said that I think the thought process is that when you get to a certain age, people are supposed to retire, and the way the world is going right now is they're too fast, and we need to learn more, or the world is getting very creative when it comes to uh, you know seniors, right? What are your thought process? Do you think that we should retire, or you think we should just keep on going till we pass on?
Okay, let me put it in a longish way, sort of explain.
Yeah, yeah, if you don't mind.
I was 58 years old, and I said, "Oh, my career is now over. Now I must retire. I must do this, 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 this." And then I got this bug about running,
Hmm.
and I used to run, but earlier, 4 or 5 kilometers, and do
Hmm.
something else, play some tennis. And then I met this person who worked with Motorola, FMC, FMC company,
Hmm.
and he resigned. He was about 15 years my junior.
Hmm.
He resigned from the company to
Hmm.
run full time. I said,
Hmm.
"Why? What's wrong with you, Rahul?" He said, no, this is what I'm doing. I'm organized runs, events. This is what I enjoy doing. And I started running with him. And I thought I was over so I told him, I'm over the hill. I can't run with you. He said, no, Vinod, you can start now. And sure enough, I started with 10 kilometers. And today I run full marathons, 42. And of course, I've run 75 also.
Hmm.
Uh, so it's a new life. I really think from 58, of course, running was the one of the sort of inputs which sort of did a lot of other things
Hmm.
for me. It wasn't the only thing, but I realized that this is a misnomer. You never retire from life.
Hmm.
Life will always be there. It will, if you don't take up challenges, it will give you challenges
Yeah.
and all that.
Yeah, yeah. There's a reason why I asked this question is because when I spoke with you 3, 4 weeks ago, and this person who contacted me 2 weeks ago, and we talked
Right,
about it, and I'm like, okay, this is the question I'm going to be asking you because the thought process in the world is that when you get to a certain age, you're supposed to retire, but then it seems like it's the other way around nowadays. And the way you're doing is you're challenging the world, saying that I can do this in whatever age. So I salute you for for what you're
right.
doing on that part.
There are a number of reasons for that. Just to add to what I was saying, one is, of course, people are healthier,
Hmm.
and you can be healthy. Everyone is not healthier, quite frankly, but you can.
That's
There
right.
are ways. There is well good understanding, and I think that's what running did to me. But that's only half the story. The other half is your mind and the mentality. I would even say that 70% of the game.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. So I think the mindset has to change also, right? And your
Right,
thought process has to change. Your willpower needs to change also.
right, right,
And yes, definitely the health has to be on your side versus the other way around.
right.
And
But
you
that's the
are
base.
definitely fortunate when you do that. So it's great whatever you're doing. You know, now can we talk more on the marathons because it seems like you have run even more than what you just explained right now. Am I right?
Right, right.
So can you explain what was the thought process as to why did you run? Is it because someone pushed you, or did you say that let me try something new?
Um, No, no. I was running a little bit earlier, but 4 or 5 kilometers. And when I was 58, um, I said, "Well, this is the end of it. I'm going to retire. I'll
Mm,
sit back, go
mm,
for a walk, and come back." That's what everyone else does, at least over here.
yeah,
And then, but deep in my mind, I knew I was missing something. I wanted to do it all my life. I used to see people who run, and in India, it's not running at that time was even frowned upon,
right,
and sort of and it was supposed to be for an elderly person, very ungainly for them.
right.
When I had this opportunity, I said, could I do it? Rahul is saying it. Can I do it? Can I release all my hopes, aspirations, and ambitions which I missed the last 50 years? Can I
Mm,
do it now? And
mm,
I took the bite, of course, a small bite, and I picked up, and I kept going.
mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So thank you again. Now, let's talk about your teaching if you don't mind. So you were a teacher, and what subject did you teach?
Yeah, I've been a teacher after I've done about 45, 48 years of a corporate life,
Mm,
basically as a business executive, right down
mm,
up to the level of a CEO.
mm,
And then, as that came to an end, I didn't want to hang up my boots, so to say.
mm,
So I got into teaching even before I stopped working in the corporate world. I used to go as visiting faculty or be invited for. I enjoyed it. I think the kids kept me on my toes, kept me
mm,
young,
mm,
and I find it exciting. And I mix a lot with them.
mm.
Um, and it's I think you know as you get older, you should mix with people who are younger. There's a tendency to go with people of your own age. So even in
Right,
running,
right,
all
right.
my groups are they're 20s, 30s, 40s, yeah, some in the 50s also. Yeah.
So let me ask you a funny question, if you don't mind. Do you think the reason why we hang out with youngsters is because you don't want to catch up your mid-age crisis?
Um, Let me put it this way. I think
Yeah.
most of us, and perhaps I have also gone through a midlife crisis.
Mm,
And yes, there is a push. You say that, okay, you're getting old, you're going to hang around with old, and I must push myself. But
mm,
that is just something which may push you. But you have to go beyond that. You
mm.
have to go beyond that. So today I don't go mix with young people, but it's natural. Like I'm running, so you have young people who run.
Of course.
So in teaching, there will be young people who will be students,
Mm,
and I enjoy that. I
yeah.
can imagine with some people, but it won't be because people are young. It is really your topic or age or your interests. Which will lead you, and there will always be either a smattering or a lot of young people, and I think you treat them just the same,
Mm.
and that's a good mix, the young,
It is a
middle.
good mix.
Yeah, it's a good mix, and but you have to get beyond that. Oh, I'm doing it because I want to feel young. You
Sure,
just
of
start off
course.
with that, right? Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, your goal has to be a little different than just being young, right? I mean,
Right.
your
Your
goal
your
has
your
to
goal
be
has to be much further. Your
further
goal,
ahead. Exactly.
yeah, which is okay if you don't have it now. But you have to have a vision or a goal. I would say a minimum 10 years, but more like 20, 30 years.
Yeah, I think the way the trend is going, I mean, the thought process should be is that when you try something, it needs to make you happy. If it makes you happy, then you just keep on doing whatever it is. Then eventually
Sure.
you'll get that goal. I mean,
Sure,
that's how I
sure.
look at
And
it.
one of the important reasons why it should make you happy is because there are going to be reverses. Let's not
Re-
fool ourselves. You don't always achieve what you may want to achieve,
That's right.
and there will be a lot of reverses along the side. So you may
Mm,
want to jump over, or you may want to go around it, or do something else. But if you enjoy it, you want to do it. It'll make you stronger to get over the hurdles and
the
those
hurdles.
reverses.
Right, right, right. Yeah. So thank you again. From a corporate life to teaching to running, and now you're an author. So
Right, right.
there's like four different things here. So
Uh,
can we talk about your book if you don't mind? So a couple of months back, you released your book. Let's
If I
talk
can
about your
just show it
book.
here. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really it's
Uh-huh.
kind of weird, right? So the reason why I'm asking you this, right? We're talking about a name which is sales a book that we're talking about here, right? But then sales book, you're carrying a, a shoe with the business suit, and how does that match? So explain that if you don't
Okay,
mind.
okay, okay. I have been, as I said, a business executive for the last 50 years.
Right.
So
So
I
we
have
know where the
worked,
suit came from.
yes, that's the suit. And my last sort of corporate, of course, I was running my own company after that, but the last corporate setup, I was heading the Fashion Design Council of India
Okay.
as the executive director. I was running India Fashion Week. So we used
Mm,
to have a lot of fashion shows and other things. Now,
okay.
I've worked in many industries, whether it's apparel or retailing or other things, but being in the high fashion industry was very different, because here you're not dealing with other people who are very logical and business oriented, but here you are dealing with people who are passionate. They care about things. They don't care about money, actually. In a sense, everyone is for money, but they will give up all that for a small little thing. They are very passionate. They are very careful about small things, so I had to relearn how to handle them, so to say, and I found it very exciting. Well, there are, of course, a lot of stress points, and so I had a story running in my mind after I came from that, and kept spinning in my mind. And I said, it's a story which has to be told, and it has to be told in a fictional sense, in a sequence. So that's why it's a fictional it's a fictional novel, basically. This is my debut novel.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Thank you again for that. So I'm I ask this question all the time to all my authors, and I wanted to understand their analysis when it comes to the book. Did the story line come first, or did the title come first for you?
Um, okay, this story was already there.
Hmm.
Story was already there. It was there in my mind for many years. Of course, not the detailing, but the basic story was there in my mind for several. Actually, the first book I wrote was which is what a lot of authors start with. It was a collection of short stories. This is about 6 7 years back. It took me 6 years to write the next book, but this story was buzzing in my mind. And then when I started getting into it, I started without a title, and then I said, what is the essence of it? And this came to my mind in a flash, the
Hmm.
Coterie,
Hmm.
because that's what I was up against when I was handling the Fashion Design Council, and this is, of course, what I have woven into the story also.
Yeah, so thank you again for that. And next time when I do come to India, I want to get a signature from you for that book when I purchase that book.
My pleasure.
Uh,
My pleasure.
Whenever I come there, I will take care of that. But you know, you've been in the corporate life. You have been
Right.
running.
Right.
You go for fashion, and you wrote
Right.
a book. I mean,
Right.
what else is there? I mean, is there anything left to do?
Yes, there's a lot to do. I have a lot of other interests. They're not as well developed. I study a little bit about history. Uh, I do a little photography. I do a lot of other things. But when you look at it, it's all the same thread runs in all of them, and it is something which is like, why do I run? It's not for health. There is some sort of people do run for health, of course, but I think I gone beyond that. It's for me, it's a spiritual thing. We run here in India because of the heat very early morning, even 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning, and you see the dawn every day, and you hear birds chirping, and it's all so very quiet otherwise, and you feel a personal connect with something far bigger than what you are and what you are doing. And this is something which comes through in your work, in your writing, in all the other hobbies that you might do.
Yeah,
Perhaps.
thank you again, Vinod, for explaining that. So now that you have done all this, what is Vinod call for the next 5 years?
Well, I'm already on my second book, and it is almost complete. Almost in writing term means another 3 4 months. That's also set in the corporate world. So that is my big project. Writing has two sides to it. One is writing, the other is publishing and marketing, and that itself is a big task. So I have been now involved a lot, and social media now, whether in all the different channels, to connect with people, and I'm connecting with a lot of people, perhaps even a few thousand people. And it's interesting, it's exciting, and of course, it's a give and take. You have to sort of listen to others before they listen to you. So that's a big new world that I'm entering on its own. So let's see where it takes me.
Yeah, so next time when you come up with that second book, please do remember us and come back to
Oh,
basics if you
my
don't
my
mind. You
my
know,
pleasure.
before I let you go, do you have any last words for all the viewers and listeners on Back to Basics? And how was your journey on Back to Basics so far?
Um, well, my words to your viewers would be: life is all about challenges. It's not about comforts and getting away from things. So the best thing is to challenge yourself. That's what I've been doing. And if you don't, probably God will throw you a challenge in your lap. Perhaps something not too appetizing. So it's better to challenge yourself and go ahead. Back to basics, I think you're right on. As I said, it matches very well with my own approach and philosophy. World has become very complicated, very diverse, very dangerous now. When we look at what's happening in Europe and so forth, and economic issues, and there's a lot of strife. Even in India, people are very polarized. So they're opposite views, and people are ready to hit each other on the head. So you need to have some sanity. And I see you, Girish, trying to bring back that sanity through back to basics. So those who sort of take a dip in this, I think will benefit for sure.
Yeah, thank you again, Vinod, for explaining that, and thank you for being on the show. Thanks for explaining to us that you know what, from a corporate job to running to your passion, which is writing books, and then even the fashion world that you have touched upon, and there might be more that you'll be doing, and hopefully, you know, as people they say, by God grace, you might have a movie too regarding this book. So hopefully
Yeah.
these things will pan out, and hopefully you'll do well. And all the best wishes from Back to Basics to you.
Thank you, Girish. My pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Thank you again. So, guys, we spoke with Vinod Kaul, and we talked about the basics of his corporate life, his running life, and his book life and fashion life. Well, there's more, right? Well, we'll find out in the next 5 years, according to him. But you know what? So far, right now, I think he's running his life to the fullest, and he's really happy. And I spoke with him, as I said, like 3, 4 weeks back, and he was still happy. So he must be doing something right for his life. Now, as usual, as always, there's a quote from the day from Back to Basics, and hopefully my guest will like that quote. And the quote is, don't find customers for your product. Find products for your customers. I mean that's what you know his whole life is all about, right? You give a good product and the customers will like it, right? That's what it is. As usual, as always, what do I always say at the end of the episode? Everything in life goes back to basics, and that's what we did today, guys. Guys, take care, God bless, and keep on commenting on all my episodes, including this one, because my hard work really pays off if you give me good comments or even bad comments. Either way, I'll learn from you. But there are three things in every episode, including this one, that every show is the best, which is the content, definitely the guest, and definitely a host, which is always the best, right? So take care, God bless, and I will see you next week on Back to Basics. Next week's episode on Back to Basics.
This is going to be the third Finn book, Cold Fear being the second. But it's like all over again. Now, who is this character? What makes him tick? What's real for him? What's his pain? What's his dream? And the characters around him and the story around him. It's kind of like starting very back at the beginning. And I love that. I think that if you lose that, then you lose a piece of your soul. I think that the Zen Buddhists call it beginner's mind, right? I think it's so important to